Rain's not really about justice, at least not. I don't forget how many Rain books I've written now, but I came up with the character in 1993. The first book, Clean Kill in Tokyo, was published in 2002. So I've been writing this guy for a while, and he ages as the books go on, and the events of each story have an effect on him that then reveals itself in his outlook and his behavior in subsequent books. So he has become more, in a sense, about justice, about writing the karmic, correcting the karmic ledger. He's become more about that as the books have gone along. But I wouldn't call him like someone who's looking for wrongs in the world and he's gonna punish in some extrajudicial way. But yeah, he's definitely a killer for hire, and although he's always trying to retire. So in any story, conflict is going to create the interest. If you don't have conflict, you don't have you just I don't think you can have a story. The conflict can be quite subtle, but it's got to be there. And I think it's fair to say that other things being equal, the more conflict, probably the better and more gripping the story. But that conflict doesn't just have to be between different characters, it can be inside between different facets of a single character. And it's those internal contradictions and conflicts that I think can make for a really interesting character. Now, I think Rain is interesting. Of course, I do. I mean, I spent a lot of time with him. If I didn't think he was interesting, I doubt it would have occurred to me to write him. But if I'm right about his being an interesting person, an interesting character, a lot of it has to do with these internal divisions in his nature. As I said, he's not. It would be incorrect in a sense to say he's half Japanese and half American. He's really fully both, and yet accepted in either place. And so he has those two aspects of his nature. His mother was Catholic, his father was Buddhist, and so those sorts of teachings were inculcated in him at an early age, and yet they don't sit easily side by side. He has he's quite cynical in his worldview, but it's almost an armor he's adopted deep down. When I think of him, he's romantic. He is someone who wants a connection with something deeper than himself. He hasn't found a way to have it. Cheats in a way. He goes to jazz clubs where he can almost rent it. He can be part of the audience and have this experience that only works with a crowd, but then he can ghost off again when it's done, without tying himself to it in some longer term sense. But he does it because he needs that experience. He's almost looking for a fix in lieu of the real thing. And then all of that ties in with the fact that he doesn't want to be doing what he does. He because of how he was brought up, he has this residual fear of judgment. And there's a line I love from Kierkegaard. He says, God, that bastard, he doesn't exist. And that's Rain, that paradox, telling himself, I'm right here, strike me down. All right,
Yeah.
you're not even there. Well, if he's not there, why are you talking to him? So Rain wants to get out because of that residual from his mother's teaching and his own human conscience fear that what he's doing is at best nihilistic and probably a lot worse. But at the same time, Rain is superb at what he does. And all of us are drawn to doing things that we're good at. It's natural. I mean, if you have a wonderful singing voice, you naturally want to sing. He's so good at killing and surviving, at thinking like the opposition, at being one step ahead. Uh, I find that interesting that if we were really good at doing something bad, we would be drawn to it. Would you actually do it? I don't know. But so that's part of the contradiction. Like he wants to get out. And then Docs has this conversation with him. I think it's in the fourth, maybe the fifth book, doesn't matter. Where Docs is, you always saying how you want to get out, but, I'm going to get out. I'll get out of this life of violence. But all your solutions always involve violence. Have you ever thought about that? So I find Rain to be an exceptionally interesting character because of all these psychological elements, the internal contradictions. And then that plays itself out in some ways most obviously in terms of the plots. He's always looking for a way out. But then there's this question of like, how hard are you looking? And Docs points this out to him in one of the books. He says, you always say you're trying to get out of this life of violence, but your solutions always involve violence. What does that mean? And what does that mean? I think it's a fair question. How much does he really want to get out? Maybe as the books go on, he's getting more serious about it, in which case the reasons that he can't get out have to become more compelling. All those things interest me and I think are the good substrate for a character who can carry a series. There's a lot going on.